Kansas needs another big man. Who are some of the best portal options to play behind or even with Flory Bidunga this season?
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on? Derek Johnson here. This is Locked On Jayhawks. Thanks for making it your first listen every day. Thank you to everydayers catching each and every episode of the show. We are free and available anywhere you hear podcasts, including on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. And on today's edition of Locked On Jayhawks, we're going to be breaking down some of the top transfer targets available to be the backup center to play with KU, maybe even play next to Flory Bidunga for certain portions of minutes over this season. So we're going to go over some of the top available targets for that specific role for KU. We'll also get into some of the latest news involving the transfer portal, involving some KU football recruiting news, and also involving some KU women's golf making some history as well. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can bet on the NFL Draft. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins with FanDuel. All right, who are some of the top big options to play behind and or with at certain points of time? Flory Bidunga, because at this point, Kansas has 10 scholarship players. They have 4 scholarships open. Sounds like one could be going to another wing, another possible shooter, whatever you want to do with that. Maybe one or two goes to a developmental player, and then you need a backup big. Maybe Bryson Tiller can fill those backup center role minutes behind Flory Bidunga, right? You still need another big. Whether Tiller can do that or can't, but obviously Tiller coming off a injury, he hasn't played basketball in a while, he'll be a freshman. You don't want to put all your eggs in your basket. Like if Tiller is good enough that he has to play all this amount, like that's great for Kansas that happened, but you want an insurance policy just in case to kind of be that backup big. And at the end of the day, like Flory, I don't know that I view him in the same in terms of the minutes being somebody who is going to play as many minutes as a guy like Hunter Dickinson did, right? With Hunter Dickinson, you were looking at a guy at center for KU who in a given game could give you 30, 32, 34 minutes in a specific game. With Flory, you're looking at, a little bit more fouling and because of the way he just plays with this rambunctious energy, it's really fun to watch, but it's going to tire you out a little bit more. And so I think I look more to like the Udoka Azubuike, the David McCormick minutes where you're maybe looking more in a specific game, 25 to 28 minutes in a given game. Obviously foul trouble can mess with that. So that does leave a good chunk of time to be available for, some backup center minutes, more so than there has been in recent years. A quick precursor with some of these names, not really interested in guys who are going to have to work on getting that fifth year. Like if that ends up passing, we can have that discussion when we get there of the guys who entered who, need that ruling to pass, but not going to worry about it now. Also, there's some players who I saw the Louisville big man who started, 20, 30 of their games this year, averaged like 7 and 6 per game. He entered the portal today. Well, if he's starting 20, 30 games on a team who made the NCAA tournament, I don't think he's going to want to come to KU to play, 12, 15 minutes per game. So trying to be realistic about some of this stuff. Some of it may be stretching that, but still at least a little more realistic there. Okay, so let's start here. This would be my top tier of players available. And right now it is starting to dry up. There's not like a ton of great options and the portal already closed. So I guess grad transfers could still enter. You could still look at the international market, which honestly, maybe that, like if you were putting together a board of what is the betting odds on favorite of Kansas getting another big man, maybe just an international big would be the favorite. But I look at two guys right now, one that I haven't seen linked with KU at all, one that has been linked with KU in the past. Let's start with the one that has been linked with KU in the past, and that is a guy that we did a deep dive on because he visited KU in season, and that would be Nana Owusu-Anane. He is the transfer from the Ivy League who can play the 4 or the 5, comes from Brown. Really good rebounder, good passer, 83rd percentile low rebound rate, 79th percentile defensive rebound rate. He can get to the free throw line a little bit. He's got good touch. He can shoot it a little bit, 31% from 3 on over 2 attempts per game. Shot it pretty well from the mid-range area too. He's coming off the injury. He was committed to SMU, and then he opened up his recruitment again. And he obviously previously visited Kansas. And I can't help but wonder if opening up your recruiting, is there a relation that Kansas was like, hey, when he first visited, it was at such an early part of the portal that maybe Kansas was like, listen, we're interested in you, but we kind of want to wait and see what's going to be out there, right? And or we'll take you right now, but it's going to be at this lower NIL deal. And now that the market has dried up a little bit more, and maybe the numbers have been more friendly to the players this year, maybe Kansas come around on it a little more, and maybe Kansas would get to the point where they're saying, hey, we'll give you a little bit more of what you wanted. And now, as you can see, based on our roster, we had to spend more on Flory than we were going to have to. Like, you're going to come in and play a very real role on this team. You could play those, 10, 12, 15 backup center minutes, and you could play 5-10 minutes at the 4 as well on this team. So he becomes interesting for me. The other guy just entered the portal the other day, and this is somebody who I haven't seen, linked with KU in some way, but it's somebody that I'm certainly a fan of. His name is Baba Miller. I think he was a 5-star recruit. I remember he had like NBA draft hype coming out as a freshman. I think he got his first season delayed, whether it was an NCAA thing or whatever, but he goes to Florida State, and then he transfers eventually to Florida Atlantic. He is a 6'11", 215 pound. He's offensively, you watch his game, he plays more like a 3-4. Defensively, because of his ability to be 6'11", have long arms, he averages 7 rebounds per game, 1.7 blocks per game. You're fine with him at the 4. You can get away with some minutes at the 5. He's not the strongest guy at the point of attack, but like if you have a defense out there with Baba Miller at the 4 and Flory at the 5, that's one of the best shot blocking front courts in the entire country. And Miller can shoot threes, 34% from 3 on over 3 attempts per game. Like I said, you can get away with playing 5 minutes of him. Like if you viewed it as, because I don't think you want Baba Miller playing a ton of 5 minutes, but if you viewed it as, hey, Flory can give you, 26 minutes at the 5, can you space out those other 14? Can Bryson Tiller give you 8 minutes at the 5? Baba Miller gives you 6, and there's all your 40 of 5 minutes. And then you also have Miller who can play the 4. Miller can even play the 3 if you want to play like an ultimate jumbo lineup. I think you'd be better playing the 4. But he's somebody I'm very interested in that I don't know if it'll happen. The team was 12 points at Florida Atlantic better on offense when he was on the floor. They were 7 points better when he was out on defense. And this is a guy who's been at one point on NBA radars. He is somebody that I would be very interested in, even though I'm not sure that has been something that is of interest there. And those are both guys with Miller and Owusu-Anane that would be in the tier of players that could play the backup center minutes. Owusu-Anane could probably, because he's more physical, would be able to handle that a little better. But both of them can play next to Flory as well. Now, Miller would be better at playing next to Flory than Owusu-Anane, but both of them could possibly do it. The next tier is just to play behind. Like, I don't think you'd want to play this guy next to Flory. It would be Federico. Now, I say that, Bill Self threw out at times, Udoka Azubuike and David McCormick lineups. And, we've seen Landon Lucas played next to Landon Lucas played next to Udoka Azubuike before he got injured and was out for the season that year. So like Bill Self will go with 2 traditional centers who can't shoot. So I would not, I guess, rule it out, but Federico, really good shot blocker, really good defender, really good rebounder. And you're not going to get much on the offensive end outside of dunks. Like, he's a really good dunker. He'll throw down dunks. He'll throw down putbacks on the offensive glass, but he's not going to create many shots. He's not the best defensive rebounder, better offensive rebounder than he is a defensive rebounder. And so he would be interesting to me if you just wanted to steer into, hey, we're going to have 40 minutes of an uber athletic center who dunks, blocks, and rebounds, whether it's Flory in there, Federico, like that would kind of be the case there. The next tier of players I have is to play behind at the 5 and probably come off the bench at the 4. So like theoretically you could play with Flory coming off the bench as a 4-5. You could play as the backup 5. Like you're just kind of that third big, so to speak, or I don't know if Kansas is playing wing at the 4. It'd basically be your second big that you can plug and play in however you want to play that specific night. And I have 3 guys that fit into this tier, though. The first 2 I have kind of a level above the third guy I'm going to mention here. The first one I want to mention is Christian Coleman. This is a guy who, I was looking at some of the stats, and they're solid. He's was at UAB before that, South Plains Junior College before that, LSU Alexandria, who's like a really good NAIA school. So he's worked up the ladder. 11.6 points per game for a UAB team that was one of the better teams in the American this year, 7.1 rebounds per game. And then the stats are, they're solid. They're fine. 53% from the floor, like, good stuff. 87% offensive rebound rate, 49th defensive rebounder. So average defensive rebounder, really good offensive rebounder, 72nd percentile assist to turnover rate. So that's good to see there. Not the most proficient scorer in terms of his efficiency numbers. They're all kind of around slightly below average. But you watch the tape on this kid, uber athlete, springy. 6'8", 205. Would Bill Self really want to roll with him at the 5 that much? I don't know. I guess he'd be kind of like a Jamari Trailer in that way. But if you want to play this just as a team who's athletic and super switchable, I mean, having Coleman at times at the 4 and Flory at the 5, I think that's interesting. You could play him at the 5 in a pinch. And the other guy here is Josh Harris. And again, Josh Harris, I think I view more as a 4 than a 5, same way with Coleman. But Harris, 6'8", 210 pounds, 13.4 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 91st percentile offensive rebound rate. Again, better offensive rebounder than defensive rebounder. He's not the best athlete in the world. Definitely a below the basket finisher. Kind of reminds you of like, I wrote down in my notes watching some highlights. It was like if David McCormick and Jalen Wilson had a baby, and then they played at like a lower level than Kansas. That's kind of what his game looks like, but maybe you could get away with a little bit of that. But again, both those guys maybe more tweeners at the 4. And then the last one, which this one kind of a drop-off from those first two guys, is Amar Kuljovic. He is from North Dakota, 6'8", 225, about 11 points, 7 rebounds per game. Really good rebounder in the top quartet of college basketball, both offensive rebound and defensive rebound rate. The defense is kind of the question here, but he's a very skilled offensive player. And if you want to zig to Flory zag, right, then you get the more skilled offensive guy, and then you have kind of your options of what you want to do. So there's some interesting names there. Let's continue on. What about some players who would just be kind of strict play behind and maybe even some developmental guys that you could stick on your roster and kind of let play out and see what happens? This episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are almost here, or they are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And so with FanDuel, you've got all sorts of stuff going on right now. I know you think, it's not football season, not basketball or college basketball season right now. You got the NBA playoffs, you got the NHL playoffs, golf is still going on, the NFL draft is going on, which, yes, you can bet on that. There's still plenty of baseballs going on. I know the Royals haven't had the best start, but you can still get in on it. And don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us here on Locked On Jayhawks, making us your first listen every day. Don't forget to check out Locked On College Basketball or Locked On College Football for your second listen every day. Okay, so this is more the developmental players where I think you would look at some of those guys we just mentioned. Some of them are 4s to kind of play next to Flory. Some of them are 4-5s to play behind and next to. Some of them are more, 4s that you can play at the 5 in a pinch, but it gives you another big man. This next tier is more of the guys that if there's like a spectrum of Parker Brown to Mitch Lightfoot role, right? And I don't know, maybe there would be a better choice. I just went with some recent guys there, right? I mean, it's hard to pick somebody like Sasha Khan or something because that's like a different level. But anyway, somebody who it's like, okay, maybe they're not like the best player in the world, but like Mitch Lightfoot came in, he had a specific role and like he was good at a couple things. He was good at blocking shots and he was really good with his hook shot. I think he had one of the most efficient hook shots in the country his final year at Kansas, right? So he provided a little bit of offense, provided a little bit of rim protection, and hustled and played hard when he had to come in for David McCormick, right? At the same point in time, was he KU's best backup big of the Bill Self era? No, right? And so some of these guys where it's like, okay, you don't need to stretch them into a 20-minute per game role, but can they fill that role? And the Parker Brown role is even smaller. It's a smaller minute load. It's a smaller expectation load. I think that version of Mitch probably better than that version of Parker Brown. But anyway, Vince Owuchukwu is a transfer who just entered the market from St. John's. Before being at St. John's, he was at USC. 7'1", 250 pounds. This dude is already ready-made, like just build-wise, to come in and make an impact. About 2.7 points, 1.7 rebounds per game. Numbers don't jump off the page here. 46th percentile offensive rebound rate, 67th defensive rebound rate. But if you want a guy who's tried and experienced at the Power 5 level, here's one of your guys. And his year prior at USC, he averaged 5.5 points, 3.8 rebounds, 0.6 blocks per game with a 78th percentile offensive rebound rate, a 67th percentile defensive rebound rate. And this past year at St. John's, again, limited more playing time, which I think more just had to do with how good Zuby Ejiofor was, right? If Zuby wasn't as good as he was, I think Owuchukwu would have played more. But 94th percentile block rate. So this is a guy who can come in and you're going to get physicality, defense, and rebounding when he's in there, that he's just not really going to screw things up. Tariq Ingraham is somebody who, if you're looking for more of like offensive post-up big, like I know some people have mentioned that, hey, Flory, as good as he can possibly be and as athletic he is, he's not the thickest guy in the world. And so maybe it makes sense for your backup big to bring in somebody who is more powerful. That way, if you're playing another big man who is more power, driven, you can have somebody to throw at him in that specific matchup. And Ingram's 6'9", he's 255 pounds. And he uses his body well. He's a sixth-year player, started his career at Wake Forest, so he has that level of him that got him to a Power 5 eventually. Went to Rider, about 11.7 rebounds per game. He's a good passer, 1.5 assists per game, gets to the free throw line a lot. 86th percentile offensive rebound rate, 75th percentile defensive rebound rate, 67th percentile block rate, and he's in the 95th percentile for second chance points per 40 minutes. Now, he's only in the 43rd percentile at the rim. So, because he's not the springiest athlete and because he's not like 7 feet tall, sometimes he struggles there, but 81st percentile in post ups. So if you want somebody to post up and come in similar to what you got on the offensive end with Lightfoot, Ingraham could make some sense. Giovanni Emajuru, I believe. I don't know. He is a 6'11", 265-pound center. So about the same, weight, but you're getting even more size here. He was at George Mason last year. Was really good. They were one of the best teams in the Atlantic 10 this season, which is a solid-ish league. Before that, he was at Siena and Sam Houston State. 6.2 points, 4 rebounds per game, shot 67% from the field, did Emajuru. And when you watch some of his highlights, you find out why. I think when you see the height weight listing on paper, 6'11", 265, you almost assume that he is going to be a below-the-basket player, that he's going to be the bully ball guy who pushes India to get the hook shots. That's kind of Ingraham's game. That's not as much Emajuru's game. Even though he's 6'11", 265, go watch this dude's highlights. He's thrown down some fun dunks. He gets up there. He is a great athlete. And for that reason, I would be very into that addition and pickup. 98th percentile offensive rebound rate. Now, not as good of a defensive rebounder, 33rd percentile, 68th percentile block rate, 92nd percentile free throw attempt rate, so he gets there, and 87th percentile at the rim. You want to talk somebody who can come in, he was playing backup big minutes at George Mason, so you think he'd be fine playing backup big minutes at Kansas with a bigger NIL paycheck, and he's not going to hurt you he's going to help you in a big way on the offensive glass. He's going to give you size. He's going to give you, throwing down dunks and those sort of things. I kind of like what he brings to the table, and he was a fun guy to watch based on kind of his style of play. Joel Armo trading. He is a transfer from UC Riverside, 6'10", 225. More of a raw athlete, but 5.8 points, 6.5 rebounds per game. If you're wanting to go for the rebound side, the team was 10 points better defensively when he was on the floor. Really good shot blocker, over a block per game. And he was 84th percentile for block rate. Also 82nd percentile offensive rebound rate, 91st percentile defensive rebound rate. He'll be, a senior, junior. The team won 21 games, so that's good to see too. That's one of interest. Matthew Van Komen is a 7'4" big man who started his career in like 2018, 2019 at Utah, went to St. Mary's. Then he had like 2 years off. Then he goes to Hawaii Pacific, which I think is a D2. Then he goes to Elon this past year, and he averages 6 points, 8 rebounds per game, over 2 blocks, shooting 72%, 98th percentile offensive rebound rate, 86th percentile defensive rebound rate, 99th percentile block rate. Now, he is more slow on the defensive end. You get him in a ball screen, that's going to cause him problems. But if you just want a gigantic body to give you a different look out there, there's your guy. Noah Ammenhauser, kind of the same idea, 7'2". He's a little quicker than Van Komen. Takes him a little time to get going sometimes too, but good. He's basically just a year younger where you can get multiple years out of him, but slightly not as good, rates of like offensive rebound rate, defensive rebound rate version of Van Komen, but 7'2" from Coastal Carolina. Bradley Izawiro is a 6'9", 265-pound center from UAB. And again, if you want more of just like the built center, this guy makes some sense. Over 7 points, 4.5 rebounds per game, 52% from the floor, 85th percentile offensive rebound rate, 58th percentile defensive rebound rate, 70th percentile block rate, 93rd percentile at getting to the free throw line. Only 21st percentile at the rim shooting, though, so hasn't been as good there. And then some quick hitters on the other ones. Tyson Brown is a center from Georgia Southern, 7 points, 7 rebounds per game, over the 90th percentile or at in offensive and defensive rebound rate. So that's certainly interesting, but he would be making a big jump in competition. Yafet Mundi, who I believe is originally from France, he's only 6'8", 205, but he played center for Iona, and he was 98th percentile in offensive rebound rate and 98th percentile in defensive rebound rate and 72nd percentile in block rate and 97th percentile in steal rate. So if you just want like a good athlete who's going to be a bit undersized, but like, does some cool things, he would be interesting. And then Stephen Payne is bringing the pain from Jacksonville, 6'9", 220 pounds, over 8 points, over 6 rebounds. Again, really good offensive rebound rates, 96th percentile, 96th percentile steal rate as well. And then he's in the 75th in both defensive and block rate, defensive rebound rate and block rate. So some options you can go to for the defensive side of the ball. If you're just wanting depth, Tamori Relaford and Daniel Ruzan maybe make some sense as being like your fourth big, I guess, at that point in time. And then I do like Luke Bamboy, the center from VCU, as a developmental guy. He'll just be a sophomore, really good block rates, 99th percentile. He's in the 77th percentile offensive rebound rate. Only 200 pounds, 6'10", only 11th percentile in defensive rebound rate. But like, I think there's something you could work with there, that if he is your back end of the roster big that you can try to develop for a year, I don't know, maybe that one makes some sense too. All right, let's finish up here. Latest news in the portal and other areas around KU athletics. This episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by the Amazon 4K Fire TV Stick. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. It's affordable and portable gaming. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of the console. Already have a console? Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Hosts, if you're talking about the ability to play some of these games on the go, I know that, I might be traveling, or sometimes it's just easier to like, I don't want to go all the way downstairs in the basement. I don't want to climb the stairs to get my Xbox. Boom, I plug that thing in to the upstairs. So head to Amazon.com/FireTV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube, the 3rd Gen. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Jayhawks and some of the latest news around the portal. Well, the portal is officially closed. You might see some new names that are entering, and they have to be grad transfers. So theoretically, if you are a graduate, you can still enter the portal at this point in time. But unfortunately, like all the guys you're seeing right now enter post-portal, they're grad transfers because they've used up all their 4 years of eligibility, and they're just entering just in case the 5-year rule both passes and is retroactive. It sounds like it could be a while for that, if it does even pass, and if it does, it might not be retroactive anyway, but they're just trying to cover their bases. But it does make it more complicated because people see some of the names and they're like, oh, that'd be a great addition. And it's like, well, probably not eligible. And if he is, it's going to take a while, and would certainly take a lot of sitting on the sideline to wait for that player. Other portal news, Cedric Coward, who we did a deep dive on, he narrowed his list down. It is Duke and Alabama. So I can't help but wonder with Coward, I don't know, the episode we had the other day about, Kansas, Bill Self looking to raise funds, yada, yada, yada. With Darian Williams, he's testing the NBA draft process. Clearly somebody KU is targeting to some extent. I guess you could say the same thing with possibly like RJ Lewis, the transfer Big East player of the year from St. John's, any other players who might enter from the NBA draft or have already entered and are in the draft. And then you look at too, like this is kind of a real life thing, but like, I know this is all real life, but like the market volatility that's been going on right now, it sounds weird for me to like relate this to a financial thing, but like, think about it. If some of the big donors for KU are very rich, with some of the market volatility, with things going up and down, right? It might make it a little harder for some of those big donors to donate a big helping of money if their stocks are down, 20% or 10% or whatever it is, right? I don't know. That might be a thing. So, like, maybe it does make more sense, and maybe we don't see another move from Kansas for a while because they are waiting that stuff out, and they're waiting the money out, and they're waiting to accumulate funds, and they're waiting to see what happens in the NBA draft process for these players. So, I don't know. It might be a while till we see another Kansas move. Who knows? Now, KU football did make the Final Five for Ian Premer, and they're going to be getting a visit in June. And this is a big deal because Premer is the number one recruit in the state of Kansas for the class of 2026. Kansas has cleaned up so far in the class of 2026 in the state of Kansas. No better cherry on top than if you could get Premer, especially after this past year when Lincoln Cure, the number one prospect, who was a great tight end himself, picks Kansas State. You have an opportunity to get the number one prospect in this class, who's also a tight end, to try to come to KU, but competition is going to be fierce and tough for KU to win, but they have set themselves up to at least be in the top five and get that big meeting upcoming or visit upcoming. And then the last bit of news here, the KU women's golf team ends up getting the number 4 seed in the Columbus Regional, which gives them their highest regional seeding in program history. So congrats to the KU women's golf team for everything that they've accomplished so far this season. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. You can find our show anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page. Back at you for more portal content coming at you next time on LOJ.